Everything that was submitted.
Did you get a lot of submissions?
Everything that was ordered.
In what form I have it.
So they would just call you to tell you to alter it.
Yeah. So that was easy, you know.
I wouldn't do that. I get supervised.
What are you? Hi, Dave.
You know, 50 degrees in the fall, it's a lot colder than 50 degrees in the spring. 50 degrees in the spring, when it's outside naked. Yeah.
Required subduing. He hated routines. He hated routines, but realized they were necessary. Coffee at 6 a.m. was not his cup of tea. He had read a poem which claimed that courage is the normal excellence of long accomplishment. When he heard the bells again, time to begin his routines, and he heard a song. See the sun, my cup of java, and I get ready to eat. I pick up the newspapers, and I read the same old thing. southern politician was found in the wrong bed. $1 million deal, another million dead. The horoscope is saying I might soon be saved.
split before they got there.
That kid thinks he's too cute. I mean, he's nice and all, but he's not God's gift to women.
Did you hear about Patty? She just got out of jail because Ray was messing with her because he stabbed him. Then the motherfucker gets his sister involved, and they get into it and find themselves in jail. And the bastard walks like he owns the world.
That's too bad. People should mind their own business. The other day, I was on the bus and the baby was crying, and some old hag says to me, "Do something about the child." And I said, "Hell, we all cry. I cried when I was a baby. It's not like it's the end of the world." And she says, "You can't be more than 17. And I say, "No, I'm 18, you bitch," and just got off.
Jane got a ride. Boy, it's nice. She better not let her boyfriend drive it. He'll crack it up. She won't have nothing.
There goes Jack. I'd get into him, but he acts so stupid, like a kid sometimes. Man, that kid can be so stupid.
Cries, words rage, as the baby cries, food spoils, as the baby cries, they kiss, as the baby cries. She's unemployed, as the baby cries, he's dead, as the baby cries, loves is a red, as the baby cries, food's dead, as the baby cries.
The stranger blames the blazing star. Now there was nothing to do, nowhere to go, no one to meet, nothing to blazon. The stranger had become bored with life. The more he had expected of life, the more disappointed he had become. And he had despaired and blamed himself for the loss of the flame. It had all started with the fear of boredom. The stranger had never feared like this before. This was the fear of perpetual boredom, of boredom with life, ultimately the letting go of life. The stranger's fear was of recent origin. It had begun in the Arboretum, where he had stumbled upon a discovery, the discovery that certain species of trees were producing atavistic offspring. Offspring barely discernible from ancient parent species. The stranger called it declassification, and he feared that it might be devolution, that his simpler order was gaining ascendancy. The stranger consulted eminent biologists, and he was told that his fears were well-founded, that declassification had begun, that the age of atavism had arrived. And the stranger remembered the sponge, and he remembered how civilizations sometimes turned into sponge societies. And he feared the boredom to come, and he feared the loss of identity to come. He became an alarmist, and he consulted eminent philosophers, and was told that to be an alarmist was understandable, and was told that atavism had always existed, and that devolution had always existed. The stranger listened to the philosophers, and he said, "Why do you receive my panic, my fear, my dread of impending doom with such composure? Are you not afraid?" The eminent philosophers gave him several answers. The first said, "I cannot share your fear because you cannot prove that devolution is negative. Devolution might well contribute to evolution." The second philosopher said, "I share your fear, yet intellectually I do not fear, because declassification might lead us to a greater unity of consciousness." The third philosopher said, "Who knows but that we ourselves are atavisms?" The stranger's fear of boredom persisted, And in spite of his alarmist activities, the boredom overcame the fear bit by bit, and he became perpetually bored with life. For he had seen that the blazing star within himself was dying, that he had burned too brightly, that he and everything living had burned too brightly. And he blamed the blazing star, and he mourned the loss of the flame.
The stranger found that he had lost his body. He experienced self-pity. He experienced the loss and felt the need to despair. He noticed his body was darkness. Suddenly, it was light. He was about to complain when he noticed he had become a part of something larger. He experienced intimacy, and he began speaking to himself in a tone that was almost foreign, almost dull and routine, almost dull and routine. are my teachers, my inheritance from the people of the clouds in their lifetimes. They are my ancestors as well as my children. They are beyond improvement, yet they are always new. For as the perceiver that I am, I see in them ways that are only my own. We are all perceivers. Everything I have experienced within this great illusion we know as life is my teacher. I have had the great fortune of having found a challenge. Everything in a warrior's life is a challenge. Nothing is good. Nothing is bad. Life is simply a challenge. A challenge to touch, to feel, to experience. To accept this gift, this challenge, is to accept awareness. Know that we, as human beings, were placed here to experience limitations, to challenge. Before we were born, we were in endless beauty, an almost perfect state that knew no boundaries. Thus, our birth. To accept the warrior ways means to accept a toolbox to learn by. The warrior ways are not ends in themselves or red man's philosophy. They are steps in an endless stairway which each of us must experience differently. For each head is a universe, each individual a world. Our gifts are the people of the clouds and their lifetimes. They are the universe. They are our awareness of existence. When awareness ends, nothing is left. A warrior knows of the great harmony which exists in the universe. She is sexless, raceless, cultureless, beliefless. She does not have to believe. She chooses to believe. She chooses to act. She acts as a warrior, yet she lives within the negatives and the positives that life dishes out. These pluses and minuses add to our limitations of biological origin, culture, sex, physique, and life circumstances. When she is shaken in her boots, a warrior acts as if nothing is happening. She chooses no obsession. For a warrior, life is folly. He knows life is only survivors. Therefore, the worst that could have ever happened to us already has. Once we are born, we start dying. Therefore, it is our duty to put our minds at ease and concentrate on going beyond our limits, on choosing to view everything as a challenge, not a blessing or a curse, but simply a challenge. A warrior allows others the respect she allows creation. For a warrior must be impeccable. Impeccability is a warrior's only freedom. A warrior has no answers, only a path, only paths of calculated folly, only impeccable guesses. The more he knows, the more he must question. For in this contradiction, this life, which allows our awareness of the center of the universe, yet allows us the knowledge of the vastness of creation, we finish knowing and we finish growing when we die. If we choose to die spiritually before we die physically, we become ordinary. We are no longer warriors, no longer impeccable when we choose to die spiritually. We as warriors must give way to others around us and procreate the knowledge of our ways. We must remember that everything in this medicine, this universe, has a place. From the skyscraper to the atom bomb, from a prayer to a galaxy. But those that are not harmonious will in turn give way to harmony, will in turn cease to exist. For ultimately, we are perfect. And although we are always fighting ourselves to remain warriors and not ordinary people, the warrior ways are our power. The stranger felt joy. The stranger felt himself in being the light that he was, the light without body, without the burden of past or future. The stranger decided to roam and spill over himself. got a 10-minute intermission. The stranger thought he was alone. The stranger woke up wanting to see his face. He looked in the mirror. The image was familiar, of course, but the image seemed to mock him a little. The image, somehow different than himself, said, "You thought you knew, but no more." The stranger, though a stranger to others, had never felt a stranger to himself. Not like this, not like now. Now, looking at his reflection, he thought, how could I have presumed to know? And why so desperate to know? The stranger had long ago nursed the illusion that self-knowledge was attainable. And now that this new manifestation of doubt had somehow entered his consciousness, he felt better. He felt at ease. He felt like looking in the mirror again. When he looked in the mirror again, his image appeared relaxed and friendly. His image spoke to him. It said, "My, it took you such a long time being alone, my friend." The stranger remembered lying on a bed sometime in the afternoon, alone in the apartment. The city streets noisy, so full of cheer, while he laid on the bed looking at the ceiling. So alone that he could no longer hear the city noises. His heart pumping 200,700,901 and 2 and 3. Now his image spoke to him. My heart pumps for you, my friend. We exist to be together, never alone. Such a long time not knowing me, my friend. Such a long time to be alone.
returns to the enigma principle. The stranger remembered what it was like the first time, at first arrival in the city, the strange feeling of being unbodied. Not decapitation, not that, for the head had been well preserved, like a brandied plum or a live coal in a cold room. The stranger had been a disembodied head, and those there on the busy street who saw him scarcely noticed. Why had he returned, and to what purpose? There never having been a welcome or a surprise, knowing full well he forever was a stranger in the city. And now it all came back to him how 10 years before, standing at that refreshment stand, making conversation with an old man who had known wealth and fame. The old man had taken an interest in him, had invited him to his room, had shown him the manuscript of a book of fables about a city where all were strangers to all others, a book about the enigma principle. The enigma principle read, if you know too much about a person, you hasten the process of separation. Therefore, learn only what you need to know and fabricate the rest. The stranger remembered, and he sought comfort in the enigma principle, and the people on the street suddenly became familiar to him, and their lives secretly touched his, and their names were the best possible names. Now he could take the next step, could walk through the urban vastness, knowing that everyone he saw was secretly a fiction, and that he had created them all, that he alone ruled.
The stranger found he was tired. Found he was tired. Tired of his own life. Tired of the smell of flesh and its routine. He said, I would like to strip naked beyond the bones and rotted marrow, down to before my conception, to the spirit world, where answers have simply faded and maggots are not even ghosts. Tired of the smell of flesh, which loves self-importance and sex. Tired of having to listen to the sound of buying shoes, or Elaine's talk about not wanting a baby when she actually does. Having decided not to despair, the stranger took a walk. Took a walk on one of those side streets of the city along the time when doors are locked and traffic lights have turned to blinking lights. along one of those side streets where movie theaters have the fire exits, and where at this time of night no one has any business being there. Here on one of those side streets, a stranger walked away, leaving the blinking yellow lights behind, distancing himself. The stranger walked along his long blinking shadow, walked along his shadow, long and cold, towards the offside of town. No reason for his escape. He was not hunted. He was not wanted, not pursued, not even followed. But the stranger walked away down his long, blinking shadow. And where the shadow hit a wall, the stranger had to turn another way. And soon, amid this dimly lit outback, he walked and walked, and his walk became astray, and he wandered, losing himself on the off side of town. In the morning, the stranger, dressed as usual, selects a silk tie, goes to work, where he does something for somebody, saves his money to buy fancy shaving lotions, silk ties, and rubber soles. And rubber soles he slips on his shoes that slither silently as he follows his shadow every night in the long cold night, following his shadow, losing himself on the outside of town. And this night also, the stranger followed his shadow, over where away in the distance, left of the dragon. And the firemen cheered, having vanquished the dragon. And the smoke oozed slowly down the wall of the warehouse. And the stranger walked to the back of the warehouse, searching for the dragon, seeing only a thin wisp of yellow smoke, a slender thread of smoke, almost sweet smelling. And the stranger listened for the dragon. And the dragon awakened in orange flames! The dragon awakened in orange flames! Lighting up 40 windows of the warehouse! Roar and awake again! And the firemen rushed to the back of the warehouse where the prancers stood! Shoved the stranger aside with their hoses and ladders and axes, and the dragon roared with them, awake again, playing with them again, on and on and on, through the cold flashing lights at dawn, when those flashing lights had turned to traffic lights again. Call me what you must. Sharing your time with us. Now it's time to introduce the cast. On vocals, photon guitar, and movement, Mr. Michel Duncan Merle. On vocals, movement, and a whole bunch of other things we are not allowed to tell you. Miss Louisa Heffernan. On guitar, vocals, harp, and all kinds of other contraptions yet to be named, Mr. Michael Lukasevich. Vocals and bass guitar, His Holiness the Reverend Mr. Charles Micah. On drums, acoustic guitar, and other acoustic percussion, as well as vocals, Mr. Brian Jarinji. On vocals, more vocals, and more vocals. Yours truly, Andre Juarez. We are collectively known as the Ghost Shadows, and we are fairly dangerous men. We also thank our additional dancer named Michael and Jim Heffernan for helping us at the door, and all of you for coming to support us. Give yourselves a hand. We'll do this again tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, we will do this again.